going on, guys? It's Zach here. Exactly 4 years ago, my wife and I bought my parents' home. Here's a quick rundown of the decision making behind it and the numbers. In the summer of 2017, we'd paid off all of our debt except for our mortgage on our townhome. And my wife had recently started a career as a school teacher. We were fortunate enough to have $2,400 per month in extra savings that we could put towards something. Our first thought was pay towards the mortgage. Drive that down, get it paid off. The odd thing is, at the same time we had this financial windfall of $2,400 per month, my parents were struggling financially. Don't get me wrong, they had always struggled, but this time it was really bad. I mean, they had 9 kids. How could you not struggle with one income and 9 kids? But they always did their best to make it work, and my parents always provided. What changed in 2017 was my dad's diabetes had finally caught up with him. He started to get severe infections and had to miss work more and more. Real quick, if you can, please smash that like button. I don't know if you knew this, but hitting that like button really puts a small channel like mine out there and gets in front of more viewers. And honestly, I'm just trying to help more and more people out. And obviously I want to grow this as a business too. So if you can smash that like button, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Back to it. Even a week of missing work would really put my parents on the edge because they were already living paycheck to paycheck. After a few months of this with the infections and missing a week here and there of work, they were on the brink of foreclosure. On top of that, the house was in really bad shape. The only person they could sell it to would be an investor or a big DIYer or an idiot like me. At first, I approached my parents and tried to convince them to sell it and just make off with as much money as they could, buy something small and just, get a foothold financially, because this was really weighing them down. It was too much house for them. Most of us kids had moved out at that point, and they were just really struggling to hold on to this. After I approached them with that idea, they decided they didn't want to sell. They didn't want to move. They loved living here, and basically if the bank came and took it, oh well, but there was no getting them out of here otherwise. It was then I had a strong feeling my wife and I had to buy this house. We needed to buy this house and let them live here. I didn't know how we were going to do it exactly. I didn't know how much it was going to cost, but we had to make it work. So back to the $2,400 per month that we had coming in, because the timing of this was crazy. $2,400 per month happens to be the exact mortgage payment after taxes, insurance, and principal and interest on a 15-year loan. Now with this tough decision in front of us, my wife and I had to decide, do we want to move forward with this and make it work, or do we want to just keep living our lives as we were living? Now comes the plan. At the time, I was really big into house hacking, still am. If you don't know what house hacking is, it's where you live somewhere and also have other people live there and basically help pay your mortgage. So whether that's a basement apartment, you rent out some rooms, you essentially put off a lot of the pressure and the payment of your mortgage because other people are doing that for you. So I was a huge fan of house hacking. And in this house, my parents had this big room. My mom actually used to homeschool us in it. They'd basically just put some carpet down on the floor, some wood paneling, a light, and called it a day. It wasn't much of a room at all. Basically just a big open space of nothing. Because then that I had this idea, what if we made a studio apartment in there? And my wife and I could live there. On top of the studio apartment, there was already an existing basement apartment and the main part of the house. I figured my wife and I could live in the studio apartment. We could rent out our townhome that we were living in currently. We could rent out the basement apartment, and my parents could live in the main part of the house rent-free. Now that the plan was hatched, we had to approach my parents with it. I took my parents out for dinner, sat them down, and I made the mistake of asking, do you want to have some extra money at the end of each month instead of living paycheck to paycheck? And my dad's instant thought was I was doing an MLM and I was trying to get him in on it. So after clearing up that confusion, I told him that no, I'm not doing an MLM. I actually just want to buy your house and I want you to live there rent-free and I want to take care of you guys. Before I could even get done explaining, my mom and dad were on board and they were ready to do it and sign whatever right then and there. And I told them, no, you got to go home, think about it, and then come back to me with an answer. After a week or so, they came back. They said, absolutely, we want to do it. Now comes the fun part, the numbers. We had an appraisal done. The home was worth about $350,000 if it was fixed up. At the time, there were some major plumbing issues, some unfinished bathrooms, and several other odds and ends, new roof, siding was falling off, gutters were down, the yard was a mess. Like I said, it was a big DIY project, or an investor was going to come in and buy this. Unfortunately, my parents didn't have any money to fix it up, so they couldn't fix it up to bring it up to that $350,000 value. So we made a deal. Instead of selling it for $350,000, they would give me a deal on it, and I would take care of all the renovations. We settled on purchasing the house for $350,000, but they would do a gift of equity of $70,000 to bring the actual loan amount to $280,000, which just so happens to be a 20% down payment. So we avoided PMI. We didn't have to come up with a down payment because it came through that gift of equity, and then we could immediately start doing renovations on the house. Now let me stop right here for a second. This just worked out great, and it just so happened that we were able to do this, and my parents had a little bit of equity in there, that they were able to do that, to give us the gift of equity. I know this isn't going to work out for everyone. This was just a plan that I saw and a way to help my parents out, but also take care of my family, because I couldn't just go and buy a house and hope for the best and just hope it works out and hope I continue to have money to pay for it. I had to make it work for both sides, and I think we did that. Now you have it. Since 2017, my wife and I did build the studio apartment, lived in there for a few years. Now we live in the main part of the house. Stay tuned for more details on what happened after purchasing the home. And don't worry, my parents do still live here. They actually live in the studio apartment, but I'll talk more about that in an upcoming video. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'm always willing to answer anything you got for me. I'd love to help people financially, so if you have any questions, comment below. Please like and subscribe, because why not?